Put 10,000 on my debit, still don't give me credit. Bet it on myself, that's why I'm so indebted. Still I gotta punch in on my time for son and daughter savings. I know I might not make it rapping, but I resumed on my time on my son.
Yeah. What? Y'all.
Ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to episode 4 of Cosmic TV. And today I have with you the GOAT, the legend. Some of you may or may not know, but let me tell you, you gotta find out about my man's over here, the one and only.
I go by the name DapTheContract. Thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate this.
Thank you, man. Thank you. Before we even get started, I want to let people know why I even brought you on. So pretty much I had met Dap a few years back through my brother and a couple other associates that we move out here in Rhode Island with. And in our time of mixing and mingling back then, I had met Dap. And let me tell you, this raw, gritty, intellectual, melodic, deep thought, make the panties wet while making the mind strain, it's the craziest shit I've ever seen.
Gas me, man.
Make magic on stage is like legit being able to go back in time and watch Picasso start his originations and shit. Like, it's just phenomenal. So I wanted to bring you on board to definitely let people know, like, of the magic of not only this melanated brother, but this well-educated, well-rounded, and a big dreamer that I find very inspirational. And so I definitely wanted to bring Dap on board, and I'm so thankful for your participation. And with that being said, pretty much just give people just a quick little, synopsis of like where you come from and where you've gone to where you are now.
Yeah. First of all, thank you for that intro. I'm flattered. That's a lot of high praise, but I really appreciate it. But in terms of my background, so I'm born and raised in Lagos, Nigeria, from a really musical family. So my mother was a piano teacher for a while before she went into finance, which will cycle back to the end of the story when I get to how I'm currently a lawyer and a musician. But she was really, really passionate about music. And my father too didn't play an instrument, but he was very artistic and did a lot of musicals and acting and that sort of thing in school, and was just like, had that character that you'd think that he could act or, do something in entertainment. Also is a very good photographer and had his own engineering company for a while. So growing up in Nigeria, the household was full of every genre of music: Motown, classic stuff, Christmas music, gospel music, high life and Afrobeat, jazz, from everything from the Beatles to Jay-Z to Kanye West, like everything. Yeah, maybe not my parents with the hip hop, but my older siblings. I'm the youngest in the family, so I had older siblings that put me onto hip hop at a young age.
No disrespect, but I'm surprised to hear in the absolute motherland of Nigeria, niggas is listening to Beatles. Like, really now? You respect. Yeah. But then at the same token, when you see like African, the culture of the clothing, the Dutch fabrics, the different prints, and like you can just tell within the colors and like the enthusiasm in your guys' culture that, you know what, I'm not surprised y'all get inspiration from everything. I'm just surprised the Beatles was in that lineup. Like, wow.
Yeah, I mean, that information travels. I mean, it's interesting because it's probably because of colonial remnants, that we have. I mean, Nigeria and the UK are very connected like that. So my parents went to school in the UK as well, same way I did. So it probably is that connection that a lot of British artists and music filtered down the same way a lot of the culture did and everything, and vice versa, But the Beatles, one of my mom's favorite bands, like Long and Winding Road's one of her favorite songs of all time. So I had all of that growing up. And then my sister started playing me Motown and stuff when I was like 3, 4, or 5. Sorry, that's wrong. When I was older, probably like 8 or 9, and she was in her teenage years. That's probably more accurate. She started playing like Motown songs, but I would hear samples of hip hop songs. And so she introduced me to hip hop by playing Chaka Khan's Through the Wire. Through the Fire, and then Kanye West Through the Wire. And I remember that moment, sitting on her bed at home, and that blew my mind because I never thought that music could be used like that in a sample sense and way it was cut up and pitch shifted and everything. I just never really seen that before. So fast forward to leaving Nigeria when I was 10 and going to the school in the UK, middle and high school. All my friends fell in love with Young Money, and Lil Wayne was the biggest thing in the world. So they had the way their crew was set up. Like, you had Nicki was holding it down for the ladies. Drake is like the young boy, and then you got Tiger, and you got the whole system. We fell in love with that, so we tried to emulate that. And we set up a group called StayFly, and I was the shy, nerdy, musical, classical pianist kid. I played the piano growing up, so I was just gonna produce. And then we had 2 rappers, this R&B kind of singer guy. These are all my homies, and a girl who's had a really great voice, and we're trying to get her to rap a little bit as well and stuff. So that was kind of my entry into really making music, my own music, period, because I'd grown up performing piano recitals and all that kind of thing, doing piano exams, all of that. But that's when I was 14, 15 is when I really started. I made my first beat, and from that day, I just never stopped. And one by one, all my friends kind of took a step back for personal reasons. And I eventually was just kind of stuck by myself. Like, if I don't have anyone to rap on my beats, like, I'm going to have to figure out a way to do this. And that's when I started writing. When I was about 17, 18, and made my first mixtape. And then once I caught that bug and heard my voice back, and I started to, like, the discomfort of, it's weird hearing your voice back for the first time on wax.
Oh, absolutely.
So once I got comfortable with that, I was obsessed, and I just never stopped. And yeah,
so what bridged you back into, because I know, like, sometimes you perform solo, but I know, like, a good amount of times you perform with a band. Yeah. So what influenced you getting back into a group dynamic? Granted, you're still, like, the centerpiece of the performance, but what brought back the whole band unit and stuff like that?
Yeah, I think that was one of the most fundamental things I learned when I came to the US and went to college. I had this mentality, like, watching so many artists complain about their rights and labels and all these sorts of things. I got very overprotective and isolated myself a lot, because I was producing everything myself, writing, recording it myself. Couldn't mix and master, but I could send it to someone to do that, and they send that back. So I got very used to and very comfortable with creating by myself. But I learned, after really maximizing that as much as I could and trying to make the best quality stuff I could on my own, very DIY, very low budget. I started to understand why you need a team and why it takes more than one person to make this globally successful thing. So, and that's part of the reason why I ended up going to law school, was seeing artists complain about their rights and understanding how shady the music industry can be, and wanting to understand my rights before I dive into anything. And just trying to put on shows, trying to book music video shoots, pay for them, set up your own website, do merch, get an email list, update your email list. Like, one person can't do all of that. And I was doing that for a long time initially. Yeah. And when I got to junior year in college, my friends all kind of banded around me, like, yo, we're here trying to not end up in a 9-to-5 as well. Why don't we team up and we can all just chip in on this and build something together, like a collective type thing. Yeah. And that mentality came and went over the years as I, got into, because they all went on to work corporate jobs, most of them at this point. So, they had time to help me at certain points, but then at other times. So the group dynamic came and went, and I don't know where it all landed at the moment, but in terms of having a band, I met all those people that I perform with at Brown, which is a blessing. One of the main reasons I appreciate that I stayed in school, because all the guitarists, bass players, sax players, keyboardists, engineers, every kind of collaborator, like, most of them 90% of them originated from because we went to Brown together. So I definitely noticed, like, the band of men and women you had around you, in terms of, like, dance performance, sound production, visual production. You can tell it's very intricate, very well thought out. And you can definitely tell it's not like a one individual vision. You can tell it's like a group vision. And even the way it like legit melts together, you can tell it's a group situation. And I'm happy you mentioned that. So what I want to ask you next is, what brought, aside to, like, you
wanting to understand the legality of like the music industry and stuff like that. Like, what else is the background to like such a serious level of a career? So like me as a Haitian woman and coming from like straight island cultural traditional vibes, it's either you get that ass in that 9 to 5 to get your education, or you gotta make the dream legit happen in a so short amount of time that like your cultural parents think is approvable of you. So what I have to ask is like, what made you really take the very deep fledge into your education that you took? Because you could have easily just went to college and just at least went to college and at least got a degree, but like you took a very serious route, like a very like paralegal, lawyer, attorney. Like we're talking about the real concrete contracts, legit DapTheContract, walking himself. Like we're talking like the deep burrows of legality. So like what is the very root of like what made you decide that level of a seriousness in terms of like educational career?
Yeah, that's a great question. I've been asked a lot about this balance, but never like that. So let me see. The reasons why I cared about the law in the first place. I studied Latin and Greek at Brown, so it was either become a classics teacher or figure out something else you were gonna do if you didn't want to do that. And it's marketed as a flexible degree that you can go into finance, you can go into the law, you can go to med school and go into, you can kind of finesse it however, makes sense. But really it came down to you're going to be a classics teacher or you're going to figure something else out. So that was part of it. There was all these different pieces to it. That was one part of it. On the music front, I got tired of seeing artists complaining about these things and I needed to understand them. And I was so protective because I'm so passionate about my music that I refused to see myself in that situation or people around me that I cared about that I was collaborating with. So that was another reason, was to protect myself. And then the most important piece for me, I think, is beyond just it's beyond protecting myself and other artists. It's about a long-term mentality. That's how I got here. It's always having a long-term mentality. And like Absol's one of my favorite, like my top 5, and he has a mixtape series for long-term mentality. So when I discovered him, I was about 19. That always just stuck in my mind. For example, when I was 21 and I was in my senior year in college or junior year in college, whatever it was, I'd already been playing the piano for 15 years, right?
Damn.
So to be able to say you've done anything for that long at that age is special. And I knew that because my parents always emphasized that, like, you're not a genius. You weren't just dropped on earth and you're Mozart and you're better than everyone. You put in that work. We saw you put in like practicing scales at 5 a.m. in the morning for a decade from age 5 to 15. You know what I mean? So it's like, I knew that I felt that my music was gonna go regardless. I put in the work. I understand music fundamentally from a skill set perspective. And also I understand the culture and how, society works and the youth and how quickly it changes and how fads come and go. But the certain artists, if you pay attention to them, they last a span of 10 years because they know how to lean into what's happening now without losing their core fan base. And they just kind of, like Jay-Z is the master of doing that. So the most important part for me was knowing that if I blow up, when I get to where I want to get to and I consider myself successful in my career, I want to be able to say I own my masters and my publishing rights. And in order to do that, I also wanted to, one of my main goals is to set up an entertainment legal practice in Nigeria one day, like 20 years down the line, because that system is coming quickly. We've been saying it for 5 years since Drake dropped More Life. It's like, oh, Africa's here now and the music Afrobeat, but it was going to happen regardless, and it's coming quickly. So I'm seeing people I know get signed up to this label, this West African imprint of this FX major label. And then a year passes, 2 years pass, and everyone's wondering what's going on. Then they start complaining about label issues. And I'm just like, okay, label's already beaten us to this, but that's a goal I have down the line, which will take a long time to develop. But ultimately, I wanted to be able to stand on my own too when I was 50. I might not be able to rap for the next 20 years at Drake level and solely be a rapper if I wanted to be, or a musician or an artist. Some people fall off. Some people's window is 1 year. Some people it's like 2 months if you're trolling and you have no talent, you just end up famous by mistake, you know? So I would rather take the stairs, have it take a long time, not cut any corners, and build myself up to be able to demand what I want from a record label deal if and when I sign one. And also at the back end of my career, when I'm not a fully active artist, I have something to move into. For example, Joe Budden being a rapper for so long, now being one of the biggest podcasters. Like having not an exit strategy, but a way to move forward and develop. That's what that was about. And like final piece, so that's like 4 different things. The final piece was money. Ultimately, a lot of this comes down to network and finances, capital. So I wanted to be able to have the kind of job that would give me a salary to live the way I have been my whole life, thanks to my parents, and have enough surplus to invest into my music myself, like pay for my own music videos, pay for my own mixing, mastering, studio time, which I don't really need because I produce out of my bedroom, cut costs that way. Pay for press and marketing, like everything costs money. And I'm finding videos is my biggest expense right now because it just costs a lot of money to.
I'm happy
people get $50,000 from labels to shoot one video. Independent artists can't do that. So trying to get anywhere near that with the skill set I've developed by doing it so low budget and DIY for so long. Like I know how to edit my own videos. I have concepts. I know how to write as a treatment and to bring to life and that kind of thing. That was a big piece.
That up because I was gonna ask you next. I had 2 more questions before I get you out of here. The second to last one was in terms of your visuals, because I know your fiance definitely, let me tell you, you guys sauce up together. Sauce up.
Appreciate it.
But let alone her collaboration, I've noticed in general, whoever you visually collaborate with, the level of like keen, unique, like overly palatable, tasteful, like completely different and very strategic to your energy versus like appealing to the mass. And I've always wondered like where does that so as you said you know how to even make treatments, etc. Where in the hell did you develop this level of like visionary actual visuals? Like, because as you just said, they're DIYs, or sometimes they're very extremely low budgeted so that they can cater to your wallet. Meanwhile, they cater to the best skill set you have, and while they cater to you, at least making sure you get your work out there to the best of your ability.
Exactly.
And always wanted to know, and I hope the people who follow you, and even those that don't, you guys have to take a quick pause of your day at this man's page just to get a quick glimpse of like the heat, because you're gonna see like still shots and hell, even down to the yellow screens of you handwriting in like this like unique not scribble font. Like everything, I'm telling you, I be peeping and I respect it. So I have to like, that was definitely one thing I had to know is like, in terms of like visionary skills, where did that develop? Because you can tell it's not like even when you scroll through your page, you can tell it's not necessarily, oh, I'm an artist and I gave my treatment or I gave my idea to an actual director and then they went with whatever they felt I meant by what I wanted. So like, how did you even come to a point where it's like, you have like overly keen sense? I'm talking about down to, and I don't give a fuck what nobody says, down to the even quick moment of changing the top color of your hair and it just rocking the essence of the color scheme. I said, hey, yo, this nigga dapping wild. This nigga dapping wild. I said, yo, look at this shit. I said, this nigga's wild. So I gotta know, where does this visual taste come from? And I'm not surprised you have such a high quality of it, because like I said, even down to the example of like African, like Dutch print and stuff, like the culture of African descent is overly enthusiastic in terms of like color, emotion, like the whole dynamic. So I gotta know, where did that come from? Because I know it's not another director necessarily putting their input. You can tell it's like it's from an originator, like it's from like it has its signature. So you can tell it's from probably your eye. So I don't know, where the hell did this come from?
First of all, I can't tell you how much I appreciate when people pay attention to detail, because that's in everything I'm doing is very intentional. Like even when it's free and the music is supposed to be not too deep and not too complex, and there's always meaning behind it. That's the important thing to me about creating, is that what's the point of this? So I appreciate you spotting those little details, because that matters to me. But visually, I think first of all, like I said, my dad is an amazing photographer. I think it probably starts there, because, and he didn't necessarily train us on photography growing up. Like there was always pictures around. He always had a camera everywhere we went. He was always the person taking pictures at any event, family event, professional, other, whatever event it was. He has his camera and he knows everything about all cameras and tech and laptops and that kind of thing, right? So it started with his understanding of visual aesthetic. And then, because I'm not the cool kid who was always on top of fashion and culture and all those things growing up. Like I didn't, in magazines, like I feel like I was late to the hip hop party. So I don't consider myself necessarily like all the way like on the ground with it and know what's going on all the time, but I know what I like. So I just always trusted my instincts, really, because I can't draw or paint at all. Like my fiance can paint. My sister is an amazing artist as well visually. And I was always jealous of that. So I knew I had a thing for it, but I couldn't do it myself. And I think aside from just naturally trusting my instincts, because I knew, okay, my dad is good at photography, I kind of get a sense of what looks good. I kind of get colors. I know what goes together and what doesn't. The thing that really made me obsess over visuals, that's my main obsession right now. Like I don't want to make albums, I want to make visual albums. Like everything has to come with a visual component. That's what I'm spending time and money investing into at the moment. But I think that switch happened when I realized that editing videos is the same language as making beats. Like the softwares literally work the same way. The way you cut up, the same way you cut up. Like even the shortcuts on the computer are similar.
Yeah, literally.
Down to that science. So I found video editing pretty easy to pick up. Like I just got Premiere and dove in and just tried and failed and I figured it out. But I didn't have the money to make the right setting I wanted. So that forced me to create around the issues, to create around those limitations. And that's where it comes from. Like I was posting this video I have called Nobody Like You that got selected for this international songwriting competition for music video. That video probably cost me maybe $200 max. Like, I didn't know what I was doing. My fiance filmed it. She has no background in film, by the way. Like I just got a camera and I was like, okay, just hold it like this and do this. And then she, after enough times we did it together, she then got the gist and was like, okay, I see what you kind of want. And she just does it on her own now and captures everything that I want exactly to a T. But we just put it together. I was like, I want it to be an old school kind of Charlie Chaplin, like black and white silent movie vibe for part of it. And then I have this subway idea to have a train be still and have us go onto the train, come off the train, and then be like we're busking on the subway. And just I kind of figured out the locations, everything, wrote the treatment, put that together, and just figured it out. A lot of this is just trial and error. I've done other videos that taken me weeks to put together and edit, months to edit, that I still have sitting on my computer that might never come out. Because not everything is going to work, especially with low budget and low network, not knowing amazing directors and, all that kind of thing. So I think it comes from just passion and trusting myself and a lot of trial and error. When it comes to my art, I don't care what it takes. I'm just completely fearless. People always laugh at me, like my friends in Nigeria who make music, they're always like, if there's one thing that's DAP can't figure out the person to help him do it, he will figure out a way to do it. Like no matter what, he's going to do it. No matter what happens, I'm gonna find a way. So it's a lot of trial and error more than anything else.
Respect, man, respect. So we'll close it off with the last question being, where did DapTheContract or DapTheContract originate from? So
DAP is actually my original artist name. That it stands for Dolapo Akinkugbe Productions. My first name, last name, and Productions. Because like I said, I only wanted to be a producer. I never wanted to rap. I was too shy. I was too quiet. I was the skinny, awkward, little nerdy classical piano did karate. Like I was that kid, you know what I mean? But all the cool kids were cool with me because I was just a nice, sweet kid who just wanted to be a part of the fun, you know. And I played football and I was good at football and, you know, that kind of thing. So
I feel like a lot of people don't even know half of the quick things you just mentioned, but continue on. Like, who really knew that played football back in the day and was playing
like soccer, football? That I still play every Sunday now. That's a lot of people don't know this, but I love soccer as much as I love music.
Wow.
That's insane for people to hear, but I'm obsessed. I watch football games almost every single day of the week as far as I can. Play football every Sunday, like I'm obsessed. But that's an aside though. But sorry, what were we just talking about?
Where the name had originated from.
Yeah. So DAP is Delapo at Kinkube Productions. That's where it started when I was 14, and we had our little group called StayFly. And so all my homies in Nigeria still call me DAP to this day, which I love because it reminds me that I've been doing this for that long, that you were there in 2008, you know, when I started really taking this seriously. So at some point, like I said, everyone kind of stopped one by one, and it was just me and my homie Shaney, whose rap name was Shane Chubbs. And so we made a duo called The Contract. So The Contract's actually a duo, and I produced and rapped and he rapped, but his ear he has one of the best ears for music that I've ever seen. Like for someone to not even be musically trained in any instrument, like he just understands. He has like a pulse on, you know, what people are gonna like and what sounds good and that kind of thing. So we had this duo and we're kind of picking up steam. We performed at the Saatchi Gallery in the UK, which is like a really prestigious art gallery over there. And we put out this EP. And then he had to stop, again, personal reasons that weren't really his fault, but he had to take a break. So I was really stuck by myself at that point. And that's how DapTheContract and just putting them together came about.
Wow.
So it's a long story. It's not the most interesting story ever, but it's weird. It's different how I kind of meandered through all of that and ended up here, but it's all a part of the journey, you know?
I appreciate you taking the love and the respect of anything from your past that helps you come to your future. Like, you could have easily left the contract and just dipped from that, but like, I respect the way that you still like hold certain things that value to you. You trickle them along still with you. I respect that. Yeah,
and while I was doing all this, he built like one of the most amazing platforms in Nigeria for us, for this scene of artists coming out of Lagos who spent time, a lot of us in the UK in school or in Dubai or other different places. So he and a couple other people set up a magazine called The Native. And they do a festival every December. They have print issues and they have an online website. It's kind of like a fader, if you will.
Yeah.
But really like legitimately professional, like properly set up. It's a dope platform. So it all made sense in the end.
All right. Tell the ladies and gentlemen where they can find you and what they should be expecting from you next.
It's my favorite part. So this is really dope. I appreciate your questions. And again, thank you for paying attention to the details.
Oh, no, trust I do. You better believe it.
I appreciate it a lot. So you can find me everywhere at DapTheContract, DapTheContract, all one word. That's Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, everywhere, all streaming platforms, all my music, videos on YouTube. And I just put out this EP called I'm Glad You Made It This Far, speaking about long-term mentality. You know, every moment like in life is an I'm glad you made it this far moment. Because if anything we could take away from 2020 is life is not promised. Like it's short. And we're very fragile and very insignificant pieces of this planet. You know, like we can be gone like this. So that's what that EP was. That's the energy that EP was kind of born from. And I'm leading into Powers Volume 2, which is a follow-up to an EP I put out last year. And that should be out in this summer, next couple of months. Before that, I have one more video off of the EP I just put out. So that's the very next thing later this month, hopefully.
Heard you. Thank you so much again for coming on.
Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, this has been DapTheContract. I'm telling you right now, definitely worth the follow, definitely worth even supporting what he has going on in terms of long-term, let alone just temporarily. This man is like a different level. Like, if y'all talking about y'all love Burna Boy, let's put like the stereotypical. If y'all love Burna Boy and people like that, I'm telling you right now, the way that Burna Boy came out of nowhere for like at least America's sake, and like he blew up on us, and like we love and respect him. Let me tell you right now, y'all are sleeping on something that's right in front of us, dead in front of us. And I'm telling you right now, this man's going to explode, like without a doubt, even actively exploding as we speak. But like this is barely even like the lick of the surface. So with all further ado, this has been DapTheContract. Thank you so much again for coming on. And I appreciate your time, man. It's always been a blessing. Please relay your fiance my blessings.
100%.
I send my blessings to the team, to the squad. And thank you so much, man.
Thank you for having the foresight to see that me and my fiance, when we first met, would be together forever.
Oh, no, I knew it. And she was looking at me like, who the fuck? And I'm like, yo, you don't know it, but I could feel this energy. You don't know.
I know. I felt it.
If y'all ever have kids, I'm telling you, that kid is gonna be legit.
You're gonna come collect that
goat. Like that kid, that kid's going to be the GOAT. Like, so now I have respect for you and your fiance, for real, man. And thank you again so much, seriously, for real.
Thank you.
All right, man.
I put 10,000 on my debit, still don't give me credit. Bet it on myself, that's why I'm so indebted. Still I got a punching on my time for son and daughter savings. I know I might not make it rapping, but I resumed on my time on my son.
Yeah. What? Y'all. Real as I've been, I cannot bend. So many false prophets kept my knees clean, no. They got green screens, bro. Don't you know not to listen or watch a condition that rides from the inside? Couple laws that I live by.